Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grow Your Entrepreneurial Empire Summit. I'm Emmy Kirshner, your hostess. And today I am with a truly amazing woman, Katrina Tse. Katrina is a retired police sergeant and public prosecutor from Australia. She is a coach, international speaker, and author. And just get this, over the last 14 years, she has worked with some of the top personal development experts and been involved in the personal development arena for 14 years. She's worked with people such as Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Dr. John DeMartini, who is from The Secret, and she and her husband, Dave Elliott, own a relationship coaching business called Legendary Love for Life. That's an amazing sounding business. I can hardly wait to hear more about it. She is also a property investor specializing in apartment buildings. Please welcome Katrina. I'm so excited to have you here. And what really a varied background.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I feel very blessed to be part of your series. Yeah, a lot of people say I've had about 6 lifetimes in one life.
Which gives you really, just a lot of value and a lot of knowledge in what we're going to talk about today and how to balance work and life. Or is there balance in work and life?
I think there is. I mean, everyone's got their own balance and everyone's got their own way it works. And you've got to kind of find out what works for you. And I think when you find that place, it's a nice place to be.
I would agree.
It's a flow and it's beautiful.
Absolutely. So share with us a little bit about your background, your experience in personal development, and how you've come to have so many different, really different jobs over the last several years and different companies.
Well, I was in the police service for 15 years as a sergeant. I was also a police prosecutor, which is the equivalent of a district attorney. And after 15 years, I had an incident in a courtroom where a guy tried to kill me, and I had post-traumatic stress. And I was medically discharged out of the police service, suffering depression, and I was just not functioning. I was burnt out. I was exhausted. I was very masculine. I was married to my first husband then, and the police psychiatrist wanted to medicate me. I went, no, I'm going to Tony Robbins. He's going to fix me. So off I went to Tony Robbins, and I did a program called Date with Destiny, and it changed my life. And the beauty of Date with Destiny is you basically recreate what you want your life to look like. And so that's what I did. And I walked out 7 days later, and I recreated myself, and I recreated a business plan, and I call it Madonna effect. I kind of just recreated, and off I went. And now I have an amazing life, and I love personal development. And Robert Kiyosaki always used to say, find the masters and go work for them. So that's what I did. I found the best of the best, and I worked for them. And I love it. And now I love being able to come back and contribute and help others.
That sounds like quite the journey.
Oh, and I did another journey too. I did an eat, pray, love journey for 4 years. So when I split up with my first husband, I had 7 years of infertility, and I was now divorced. So what does a girl do? Read, eat, pray, love, put on a backpack, and buy a one-way ticket around the world. So that journey in itself took me 4 years of traveling around the world with no agenda, and I went to some profound, amazing places. I dived with whale sharks in Honduras. I sat with Mayans in a village and meditated for months. And then I lived in Europe. I house-sit castles. I met my husband on the way, which was really amazing. And, I sat in ashrams in India in silence for 30 days. And
Wow.
I really went deep within myself, and I really got to know who I was. And it's an amazing journey, and I feel very blessed. I have an amazing life. I created it myself. It's not something that I fell onto my feet. I had a pretty traumatic childhood, and you know what? I created my life, and my husband and I are incredibly blessed.
That sounds really quite the journey, and just wonderful experiences. I can't imagine what any one of them would be. So to have 4 years of moving through that path, I'm sure has really affected and impacted how you find work-life balance now.
Yeah, and it has. I mean, when I was a police officer and an attorney, I was very heavily loaded with a lot of files. I was very stressed, and I was sitting in my masculine most of the time. And something had to shift, and for me, it was the art of letting go. When I'd lost my job, it was about letting go and finding that place. I mean, the pendulum swings high on one side, it's got to swing just as high on the other. And so that's why I went to the extreme on the other side. And first 2 years I traveled and did no work. Second 2 years I worked from my laptop and ran my business from my laptop, which was property investing in Australia. And then I kind of found that balance. And of course, coming back into the normal life, as we call it, was certainly interesting. But I took part of what I learned, which was the surrender and the serenity and the flow. And, and I also studied under Alison Armstrong. She is the leading expert in the US on relationships. She's pretty profound. I did programs under her for 2 years, and, she taught a lot about feminine and masculine and how to find that balance, and have it in your life.
Wow, this sounds really great. Can you share what the definitions are of the feminine and the masculine is for the balances for everybody, just so we're all on the same page?
Yeah, so feminine and masculine is not necessarily male and female.
Right.
Feminine and masculine is a mode of being. So you could have a woman and she can, and we've all got feminine and masculine in us as ladies, and as men, they've all got feminine and masculine as well. The question is where is your core and where do you live most of your time?
Right.
And so for the woman, she will be in a feminine when she's at her most ease and grace, and when she's feeling safety and she's not worried about things, tank is full, in she's version of herself. And that's where you see the amazing women, people like Goldie Hawn. Look at Goldie Hawn's age, and she is just absolutely divine feminine. She's beautiful, and that is the feminine, and that's the light that men love about women. That's the attraction that really, men say that women are like the lighthouses in the storms. We just light up everything. If you can imagine a colouring in book, a child's colouring in book, and you open it up and there's a black and white line and it's just plain and dull and boring. Well, that's the man, that's the masculine. And then it's the feminine that gives it the colour, and we brighten it up and we colour in, and she may be wild and she may colour outside the lines, and that is the feminine. I mean, the feminine is not about being contained. It's about being wild. It's about, you will get the expressive feminine or be out of control. We're like the ocean, sometimes we're like a tsunami, and sometimes, it's just dead calm and flat.
Yeah.
We have very many types of ways of being in feminine. She's all about diffuse awareness. Her head is on a swivel stick and she can see 360 degrees around her, and she'll say one thing and then 5 minutes later she'll say another thing. And ladies, if you're ever criticized about that, welcome to the feminine, because this is the feminine, and own it, love it, and embrace it, because, there's nothing wrong with you, and this is what the feminine is about.
Yeah. What it reminds me of too is I see like a lot of
the masculine.
I was going to say what it reminds me of is seeing a lot of little girls be very wild and rambunctious before when they're 3 or 4, when they've gone to school and told they need to sit still and follow the rules and everything. And I love watching them because they're so creative and gregarious, and somewhere along the lines it gets lost.
It does, and I think that's culture. I think that's a lot of things. I mean, have you ever seen a little girl who's 3 or 4 and wants a candy and go up to her daddy, and you know what? She's going to get it, and she'll do whatever it takes to get it, and she'll flirt and she'll put on that feminine, and that is the innocence that eventually does get lost, and it is the beauty, and so with the masculine,
Right.
is a way of being as well. So women can be masculine. In fact, most women go into a mode of masculine. So examples of that is she may be running a business, she's got to make decisions. The masculine is about single focus, is about outcome driven, is about results. So, if she has her own business and she's got to make X amount of sales, then she will sit down and she'll get focused and she'll do her sales. If you're renovating a house or project managing, you're walking in and you're asking for an outcome.
Right.
And, corporate women are like that. Most of us are like that. Single mums, God bless single mums, they've got to be the masculine and the feminine, when they go out with their children, they're always on the prowl to make sure their children are going to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Is my daughter safe when she's going to a party tonight? She's got to be the father and the mother, and that is difficult. And I think what gets difficult there is women need to understand which mode they're sitting in. For a woman, and I get approached by a lot of corporate women that are burnt out in their 40s, and they're exhausted. Their adrenals are burnt out. They've got high levels of testosterone. They can't get pregnant. They've got, all these infertility problems. If the female sits in the masculine too long, her body floods with testosterone and it burns out her adrenals. And that's why you get this middle-aged burnout of these corporate women.
Right, right.
And I think self-awareness is the number one to be looking at. I see a lot of women, that are wearing tough girl masks because they've been hurt by a man, or their husbands have left them or cheated or whatever,
right,
or have been raped, right? There's another one. And when you walk around with that mask, not only are you putting out there, don't come near me, you're pushing all the energy away, but you're sitting in that masculine energy most of the time. And
right.
And where it damages is it brings, it damages your body and also future relationships, because what will happen is, from a woman's point of view, if you're sitting in masculine 90% of the time, you will attract a feminine man. Mm-hmm. Because of the polarity of the opposites, they will attract.
Right.
And so the more masculine a woman is, even outside the workplace, but even in social, she will attract a feminine man. If she's feminine in a social atmosphere, she'll attract a masculine man. Mm-hmm. Now, there's nothing wrong with a woman being masculine, and a man being feminine. That might work for some people. Didn't work for my marriage. I couldn't fall pregnant. It caused huge amounts of infertility. And over a period of time, you've really got to look at the overall health of a woman, and where, the question is, ladies, we need to ask ourselves, what do we want? Do we want that ease and grace and flow? Do we want that light? Do we want that amazing sex? Yeah. Do we want that intimacy? Do we want to surrender to our man? And when I mean surrender, not by way of a forcefulness, but, stop controlling things and allow our man to be the hero, or our partner to be the hero. Because this works in same-sex relationships as well. Mm-hmm. Do we want our partner to be the hero, or do we just want to do it all ourselves?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the biggest challenge is, if we go into that masculine mode and we live in there, then when we do meet a man or a partner that we may be attracted to, he hasn't got a job. You know what? When he's got a woman who doesn't need a man, he'll walk and he'll go and find a woman who receives his gifts.
Yeah. Yes. And what I've seen, at least, and maybe you've experienced something different, but when you start shifting your energy even more into the middle and becoming less masculine, or inviting that in, if that's what, it's going to work better for you, the relationships that you have change.
They have to change, because the polarity changes.
Yeah.
The polarity, if you are masculine and your man is masculine, you guys will have conflict.
Yeah.
You'll have conflict because you'll be butting heads like this. Anytime you have an argument with somebody, figure out who's masculine and who else is masculine, because 9 times out of 10, you're both sitting in a masculine role. And what I say is, do you want to spar, as in you want to fight? Tango is a wonderful metaphor and a wonderful exercise just surrendering, because when a woman goes dancing, she has to let the man lead, and she has to allow him to lead, and she has to surrender. And for a lot of women, it's
Right.
very difficult.
Right. It is because there's a lot of trust there. And I
Absolutely.
I think that's what comes up for a lot of people.
Yeah, trust is, but not only that, women need to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
They need to feel safe, and if they don't feel safe, then they'll go into a masculine mode because they're in protection mode.
Right. What do you see as what women's like greatest challenges are in not only in determining whether or not they're too much in the masculine, but as far as the work-life balance piece, like how are they bringing that even further into being out of balance?
I think, and you're out of balance because, one, you're stressed.
Yeah.
Two, you're snapping at people. Three, you're tired.
Yeah.
You know, four, you're having no sex with your partner at all because there's polarity issues. And, or you might be lying in bed at night at 11 o'clock ready to go to sleep, and you're still doing your to-do list. And you can't sleep because you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're thinking about, oh my God, I've got to do this tomorrow, and I should have done this yesterday.
Right.
And it affects you all the way around. I think the biggest challenge is mindset, right? And awareness, right? And I say that because once we become aware of the feminine and masculine mode and how it affects our body, then we can kind of reflect upon ourselves. Self-awareness is always number one. And I hear women say, I don't have time to do a date night with my husband because I'm too busy, or we've got 3 kids, or we don't have money, or we have this or this or this or this or this. And
Right.
Yes, I honor those women out there that run full-time jobs, run a household, look after their men, and have kids. I mean, that is the ultimate of a juggling act, right? But I've still seen women that can do it and do it very well. And I've interviewed them. I've asked them. I have a girl I spoke to. She has 3 children. She works full-time, husband full-time. He renovates houses. And I say to her, how do you do your date nights? Because their finances were very low. And it was a must for them. It was a priority. Mm-hmm. At 7 o'clock on Friday night, the kids have eaten. They're in their rooms. They're playing with their toys. They're instructed not to come out. They're going to stay there and play, and then they're going to go to bed. And then you know what? She prepares her meal for my husband. She candlelights the table. She sits at a dining room table, and her and her husband have the one-on-one date night. It's
awesome.
Inexpensive. It's time, she doesn't need to get a babysitter, and it becomes a priority. It's an absolute must no matter what, and I've heard women say, oh, but you don't understand. And my question is, I know it's doable because I've seen women, I've coached women, women do it, and they do it, right? And the reason where I think the greatest thing is mindset. You make a decision. What is most valuable to you in your life right now? And that's the question.
Right.
That's the question. Because what you don't value, you'll lose. Value your husband and your marriage. Mm-hmm. Because if you spend all your time with your children, then your marriage will fall away. I mean, marriage is not something that you just, sign a piece of paper and off it goes. It's a work in progress. You're learning, you're growing, you're moving together. It's teamwork and partnership. And,
right.
The question is what's most valuable to you? I see mothers just give it all to their children. And then when their children move out, they're just devastated. And it's like, you have to have that balance. Mm-hmm. You still have to be able to fill your own queen tank as well. And I think that's the biggest challenge. Mothers are amazing because they give it all to their children and then they have nothing left in the tank. The challenge with that is when your queen tank, and Alison Armstrong calls it the queen tank, when your queen tank is empty, that's when you get sick, burst into tears, get angry, lash out at people. That's when you hit the wall. What I'd love to see women do is to be able to fill their queen tank before it gets empty. It's a bit like when it gets to a quarter of a tank, now is the time to fill it. Don't fill it when it's empty, because that's not the time to fill it.
Right. Well, and you can't run on empty. Like a car doesn't run on empty. Why are we expecting ourselves to?
Absolutely, and we do it all the time. And then women wonder why they get sick or they get cancer or they I mean, if you don't look after your health, then you know what, the universe is going to come in and go, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to break a leg. I mean, my mother is an extremely busy woman, and you know what, when she broke her ankle and she was on her back for 6 weeks, everyone said, well, it's God's way of getting you some rest, you know. And you kind of got to look at it like that, you know. So look at your value systems, you know, where are you spending your time? And it's a bit like being in an airplane. You got to put your own mask on first before you put it on a child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For somebody who's listening to this and they're like, wow, I'm really sitting in my masculine too much. I have let my relationship go with my husband or my spouse or my partner, or I'm spending way too much time with my kids, you know, as far as really giving them way too much. And I'm not honoring me. What are some strategies they can use to get back into a place that is a little more aligned with who they are?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I suggest to women. First of all, number one, you need to understand how you work yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone fills their queen tank different, right? And so what, you know, you may want to fill your mummy tank, you know, and to fill your mummy tank, go and do one-on-one time with your child. You know, don't, and one-on-one time doesn't mean sit there texting on your phone while your child's playing in the park. It fascinates me how I go to the park and I see so many mums with their heads in the, you know, the phones. It's like, if you're going to be with your child, then be with them. Turn off your phones and just go there, you know. Go there for an hour. Go and sit and play blocks, or, you know, sit with your children and say to each child. Stephen Covey used to do this. Spend 1 hour face-to-face time with each child per week. So, you know, you've got a 6-year-old and you say to Emmy, you know, honey, you know, Thursday morning, you've got me for an hour. What do you want to do? You go and do what Emmy wants to do, you know, and you know, and let your mum tank fill that way, right? For yourself as well is find out what fills your tank, what makes you feel good, right? Is it grabbing a girlfriend and going having lunch? Is it having a hot bath with a candle? Is it watching a romantic movie? Is it dancing? Is it like, whatever it is, you need to figure out what makes you fill your own queen tank. And what I suggest to women is keep a little treasure box next to your bed, like a really pretty decorative box. Put in there little, you know, little yellow stickies, and put in there, you know, fill the bath, or have a bath, or go dancing, or dance naked in the moonlight, or, you know, whatever works for you. You know, put that in the box and fill up the box. And any time that you're feeling depleted, then you can either choose to do something like that, or you just open a box and you just pull one out and the universe will choose for you. But you have to schedule time for you, and that's the biggest challenge. Yeah. It's like, I've got no time. You know what? You got to get creative. If you've got a child and you're a single mum, do a swap out with another mother in the area and go, hey, will you mind my little girl, you know, once a month on a Friday night so I can catch up with my girlfriends, and then I'll mind your little girl, you know, and do a swap out. It's a matter of getting creative.
Right.
And understanding what makes you tick, so that you don't get to the end of your tank and your tank is empty and then you hit the wall.
Right.
You know, and the one thing that I do is, you know what, when you come home from work, you have to remove that corporate hat. You have to. You can't, you know, if I'm in a suit, I take my suit off. I put my beautiful underwear on. I don't care whether anyone's there or not. In fact, when I backpacked around the world, I had the best lingerie ever. Let me tell you. Because you know what, I'm in boots and I'm trekking through forests and jungles, and it's like, you know what, I got the best lingerie. So, you know what, you've got to kind of have that transition of taking off that armor, hanging that armor up, and going to put on the frilly dress or the lingerie or whatever makes you feel like a woman. You know, you've got to change and you've got to go into that space. It's a transition space.
It is. And, you know, I think, at least for me, when I am taking off work clothes, if, you know, I've been out to an event or whatever, and just putting on something that feels really good for me,
yeah,
there's a whole energy shift there.
Absolutely.
You know, and, you know, I want to feel good all the time. So I love doing little things like having some fun, you know, lingerie or taking the bath or whatever, because it's just about me.
Yes, and the lingerie is never about my man. It's like, you know what, I wear it
Oh,
for me.
no.
I wear it for me because I love it. I just love beautiful lingerie, and it's like, yeah. And the other one is essential oils. Oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how much essential oils, even to pick up a bottle and just smell it, because it changes the brain waves and the vibration. In fact, a rose has the largest megahertz of any flower in the world. So that's why when you bend over and you smell a rose, it gives you that euphoric rush. It's almost like a release of oxytocin. So it's like, wow, that smells amazing. And you know what? Sometimes when I go walking with my husband and the flowers are, I stop and smell flowers. Why not? If I ever see a rose in any florist, even if I'm in like a Walmart or whatever, I stop and I smell them. I smell them because I know it's a state change straight away.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, not only the smell, but I think just stopping and pausing to notice anything. We're so busy and rushed
Yeah,
and everything that it does totally change your state.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So share with us, because you've shared so many things about everything we can do, and really taking a look at our relationship with ourselves. What can our men or men in general or our partners do to support us?
So there's a couple of things that comes to mind. When women are all about filling up, we're like, going to the meadow. This is Alison Armstrong's word. Going to the meadow and filling our baskets and filling our baskets. And whether it's like, oh my goodness, the lady down the road, her little cat's sick, I'll take her to the vet for her. My sister's child's, I have to ring my sister and see how she is, because the feminine is about nurturing, and that's what the nurturer does. She fills up and fills up and fills up. And then we go to work and then we fill up even more. And then we get home and we're exhausted and we're so full that we need to empty the basket. And so, what I taught my man, and he now teaches other women, is, sometimes a partner can say, honey, how was your day? And then just zip it. And what will happen is it will encourage her to give what they call the meta report. It's the report of the day. It's like, well, I went to work and, Alice was doing this, and, Sandy's split up with her husband and whatever. And just let her rant and rave and just listen. Come from a listening perspective, right? The biggest thing about men when women want to express is they want to fix it, because
Yes.
God bless men, they're just heroes and they just want to fix everything. And this is not the time to fix things.
Yeah.
We don't need to fix things. All we want to, women's biggest complaint is, I just want to be heard. What happens is when a woman empties a basket, it's a bit like picking up a wastebasket and, vomiting, I suppose, she's got to get it out. She's got to get it out. Let her get it out. And then when she's finished, honey, is there any more? No, I'm done. And when she's done and she's emptied the basket, oh my God, she feels amazing. She feels absolutely amazing. And so if we can teach our men to, honey, I need you to hold the basket for me. I don't need to be fixed. I just need you to hold the basket. Is that okay with you? And ask our men to do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Train them, teach them, educate them. This is what works for me. So that's the one thing that communication is always everything in any relationship.
Right.
If you are in overwhelm because you've got packed lunches and kids and schools and cleaning houses and running business meetings, you know what? You need to communicate that. Honey, I get overwhelmed. This is how I would like to be supported. And tell him, right? Tell him this is what this is the way I would like to be supported. If you do this, this, and this is how it makes me feel. I feel so loved and nurtured by you. And tell them, communicate with them.
I think, and the guys that are listening, I think that guys like to have that direction. It's clear, straight to the point. They want to help, and they understand that we do need to empty the basket, but their first instinct is to fix it. So it's funny because I just had a moment with my boyfriend, and we were on the phone, and I was just like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, this is one of those moments, right, where I don't need to do anything. I'm like,
God bless you.
I'm like, yes, that's exactly it. I'm like, good, now, moving on.
But good for him. He recognized that,
it made me laugh.
But we need to, it's like, honey, I need to have a conversation with you and I don't need you to fix it. Now, sometimes I'm looking for an answer. So, honey, I need to tell you some things and I'm looking for an answer. Is that okay? So he's got a different set of listening ears on, and he's ready. He's ready. He's like, okay, I'm in Mr. Fix-It mode now. So I was like, Superman, and so, yeah. So the greatest thing that a man could ever say to a woman when she's overwhelmed, she's got too much, is, how can I support you?
Yeah.
Because so many women say, I don't feel supported by my husband or my boyfriend or my whatever, or my girlfriend. And it's like, well, what does that support look like? Men don't read minds. And unfortunately, when we were little, we decided that men were like hairy women. They were just like us, except they were just had hair. And they were thinking like us, and they're not.
Yeah.
Men and women are very different. For a man, you got to tell him. You got to explain it. You got to tell him. And, if you say to him, anytime you see me in a fluster or overwhelm, you just need to come up, touch my hand and say, honey, how can I support you?
Love it.
Yeah. And you know what? You can tell him, this is what support looks like for me. Because support, sometimes when a woman's cooking and she's got the kids running around and doing homework, sometimes she just wants pleasant company. She just wants a husband to sit at the bench at the kitchen and talk to her while she's cooking. Pleasant company, that's all it takes sometimes. Everyone's different and everyone's got different needs.
Right.
But yeah, if we communicate with our partners, and this can be flatmates as well,
Right.
Girlfriends as well, if you're going out to lunch and you're going through a crisis with a girlfriend, it's like, how does she want to be supported, and support her in the way she wants to be supported.
I think that is so key and important, because we're all taking everything in through our filters and kind of like a viewfinder almost. And even though we're using frequently the same words, those words have different meanings for everybody. So if you give them that space to kind of define what it is they're looking for in the support, or you're telling them what you need in the support, then you can really have a much deeper relationship, whether it's a spouse or partner or your kids or your girlfriend. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I'm upset and I'm really, really distressed, I just need my husband to come up, put his arm around me and say, honey, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. It's going to work out. He has no idea how he's going to work it out. I don't care. I just need to be told it's going to be okay.
It's all good. Yeah.
It is okay.
It is. It absolutely is. Thank you so much, because this has been so valuable, and I love everything that you've shared with us. I think it's just so important. What's one thing somebody could do as an action step right now?
As an action step.
Yes, of everything we've talked about, what would be like the most important to help them, improve their relationship with themselves?
I think they should go home, sit in silence for maybe 15 minutes. And for those ladies who got kids and dogs and screaming, everything else out there, make it happen. Just make it happen. Make it happen. Somehow make it happen. Ring your neighbor and say, hey, can you mind my little girl or mind my boys for 20 minutes for me? I just need 20 minutes. And you know what? Sit down and grab a journal and just start writing down what has to happen for your queen tank to be full. As in, what has to happen for you to feel great.
Right.
And start writing it. It can be easy as a song on the radio. As soon as a song comes on, bang, it's called anchoring. It's like, did you ever split up with a boyfriend and every time you hear the song you go, oh my God, that reminds me of David Watson. It's like Breakfast at Tiffany's with me with my breakup song. It's the same sort of strategy. It's like, play a song that makes you feel amazing.
Yeah.
And if you wake up in the morning, then put that song on your phone. And what happens is, as you hear the song, you feel great. As you hear the song, you'll feel great. You want to make easy, accessible things to do to make you feel great. And you need to know what those are. And everyone's different.
Perfect. That's amazing. I'm going to end on that, because I want everybody to go and find that 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And really just sit in quiet and silence, because so many things open up then.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you so much, Katrina, for sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge with us. And for everybody else that's listening in, thank you for joining us. I'm Emmy Kirshner, and this is Grow Your Entrepreneurial Empire.
Thank you.